Okay, so updates on the Onsra. I'm at 331 miles, and there's really no update from the 100 miles. I mean, I've swapped out pulleys and belts, but that's been by choice, not by force. Nothing broke on the board, but again, every time I put new wheels on it, the wheels come with new bearings. The belts are still, no. So the belts, when I went to the 45T pulleys, the belts had to be replaced too, you know, because they needed to be longer. So it has had a couple new sets of bearings and belts, not because it needed it, just because I had to with everything that I was swapping around. Now with the Wowgo, so yeah, I don't know what I was doing, but it turns out that we can use cloud wheels on the Wowgo. I had read in a couple forum posts that you couldn't. I tried them really quick, but it turns out that you can use cloud wheels on the Wowgo. So I had the 120 cloud wheels that I was testing, so we just threw those on there. The 105s are on the Onsra because I really like them. That's about all the updates that I have. I haven't done anything else to the Wowgo. I haven't had to do anything else. Nothing else that broke. We did pull one bearing out of the back of the 120 cloud wheel. So we pulled one bearing out and put the two spacers back in to save the bearings. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then watch my other Wowgo videos. No, you're okay. So if you want to see what I'm talking about, the way that the Wowgo pulley are set up, if you just leave two bearing and a spacer in there, or try to run it the way that the Wowgo came with just a bearing and no spacers, it puts a lot of pressure on the outside bearing and it causes it to prematurely fail. But that's about all the updates that I have. Sidewalk's closed, unfortunately. We're trying out a new trail today. We've never been down this trail. We're gonna see where it goes. If I had an extra set of 105 wheels, cloud wheels, we would have thrown those on the Wowgo instead. But I don't. I only have the one set and they're staying on the Onsra. So the Wowgo gets the leftovers, the 120 millimeters. So spoiled by the other trails where we don't even have to cross roads. There aren't the huge cracks. This has also given me an opportunity to play with the camera, try out some different things, try to figure this thing and the software out. Okay, so I just got done with the ride, and coming back, once I got back to the truck, I go to pick up the board. We probably rode, I don't know, about 2 miles down dirt trails, and I go to pick up the board and some gravel falls out on my arm, and I think, what the heck is that from? You know, so I flip over the board, and even though I just said that I've found nothing wrong with the Onsra, I finally found something wrong. So as you can see, I've hit the bottom of the board a couple times. Maybe that had something to do with it, but I really think it's because the board is flexible and the carbon fiber enclosure is not. So what it's actually done, you can see underneath there, you can see that gap. So it's actually separated from the board a little bit, and I have a sneaking suspicion because when I push down here, the screw going in and out with the enclosure. So I actually think that being a flexible deck with a non-flexible battery cover, it stripped out. Now granted, I do weigh 200 pounds, right? But it stripped out the front and the back screw. You can see that screw sticking up and it's all wobbly. I think it stripped them out. This screw backed out. I don't know if that's stripped or not. So, I mean, it has 1, 2, 3, 4 screws on each side. So what I'm actually going to do, I bought some garage seal. Let me just show you. So I went to Home Depot and I bought some of this weather stripping. It's just generic, you know, any use, universal use weather stripping. Thin. I'm going to try to run a bead of that all the way around the enclosure and put it back on. So then as the board flexes, this will flex too and keep the dirt out. I don't ride in the rain, so I'm not worried about waterproofing, but I know that a bunch of people do. So this might be a game changer for you for the Onsra. But like I said, 100% honest, right? I also bought some silicone just in case the weather stripping doesn't work. But this is also a good opportunity to take this off, see what it's done to the actual deck of the board, and show everybody what's inside, because I think there's some gravel in there that I don't want in there. So I'm going to take this all the way off, hopefully see what it is under there. I've never taken an electric skateboard apart, so see how it is underneath there. Try to put that weather stripping on, at least the front and the back where it's going to flex, and maybe I'll combine both, weather stripping up front and then silicone along the side, and I'll probably end up leaving the front and the rear screws just out of it. Here we go. Okay, got the enclosure off. So the front does look stripped out, the back does look stripped out, and these four screws on this side and 3 of them on this side were all slightly longer screws. I think they grabbed out of the wrong bin when they got this 4th screw on this side, because I have 3 slightly shorter screws. One was in the front, one was in the back, and then like I said, I think it came out of the wrong bin. Little bit of gravel inside. You can kind of see it on the truck. I've been cleaning it off, but a little bit of gravel in here still. You can see it right here on the edges, and that was coming right in through the front. So I'm going to try to weatherproof this the best that I can. I'm not really worried about water, like I said, because I don't ride in the rain, but I am worried about dirt getting in there. This connector, for some reason, has silicone on it. It was silicone to the actual board, so I don't really know how I'm going to get that to do that. Maybe they just put silicone so it doesn't separate while riding and you don't lose connection, and it just happened to stick to the board. I don't know. But I can't silicone that unless I just glob it and hope that it falls on the board when I'm putting the seal on. So, try the weather stripping first. I'll let you know how it goes. Okay, got it all cleaned up. What I did, I just used my knife to kind of scrape away at it. So I just ran the blade of my knife, trying not to scratch the board, you know, and just scraped away at it. Got up all the thick stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to run the weather stripping on the board, the front screw and the rear screw, are both stripped out. This one, you can actually see the metal insert. So they drill a hole in the board and they put a metal threaded insert in. You can see the metal insert pulling out right here, and that is one of the side screws. So what I'm going to do is, I don't care about the front and the rears. I want it to flex, especially if I'm going with that rubber seal. It'll still seal even though it flexes down. I want it to be able to flex. So I'm just going to run. Sorry, I'm trying to hold the mic too. I'm just going to run the weather stripping right here along the bottom of the side screws, and then I'm going to come up and go right over top of the rear screw and the front screw. So let's do that. All right, that's the final product. The weather stripping actually stuck to the surface of the board really well. I just wanted it to hold its shape long enough for me to get the cover on. Once the cover I'm pushing down on it, it's not going to go anywhere. But I was worried about, it sliding over these holes. It's actually sticking pretty darn well. Let's get the battery cover on. Actually, before I put that on, in case anybody's wondering what this looks like. So there's the ECU. The metal plate is right underneath here. That metal plate that says Onsra. I'm going to try to get all that gravel out before I put it back on, obviously, but the metal plate is under the ECU. This is the antenna. Got some connector. They're all kind of silicone down. So, replacing this, you'll have to work through the silicone to replace anything in here. And I think this is the ECU, actually silicone down. You can see the metal plate. It is a little off center, but that don't really matter. Big battery pack. I don't know if anybody cares about so according to the sticker on it, it is a 10.5 amp hour. But maybe you can do something with that. Maybe you want to see that. This is the charging port, and this is the on-off switch. Alright, that's enough of that. Let's get the cover on and see if this works. Okay, here's the final results. So 2 in the front are stripped out. The front and this side one are stripped out, and it's kind of the same thing in the rear, just on the opposite side. The back and this one, the insert into the board isn't spinning. I think the threads are so jacked up that just the screw won't go in, and if you do get it started, then it starts spinning the entire insert in the board. So I'm just going to leave it out. But I mean, that's a good seal. That's a good fix, I think. There's no gap there. And as the board flexes, because right here, when you stand on the board, right behind the trucks, is where it flexes the most. And that's why this happened. You have a flexible, semi-flexible deck with a non-flexible battery cover. Something got to give, and it was the screws that gave. And then the urethane separated. So, I mean, for $8, I'm extremely happy with it. This isn't a deal breaker for me on the board. I actually like this better. I know, Fabian, redesigning your battery cover. Fabian, if you're watching this, you're redesigning your battery cover anyway. So either A, make it flexible, as flexible at the deck so this doesn't happen, and or instead of urethane, put a rubber strip down here, man. It's way better. It's way easier to get it off. You could just lift it off and you don't have to pretty much unglue it from the board. Way better. But that's just my opinion, and the entire purpose of this channel is to know everybody else's opinions. So like I said, I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it honest. I love this board, but hey, this might be a deal breaker for some people. So tell me what you think in the comments. Is this no big deal. All boards require maintenance, and this is just part of e-skating, kind of how I feel. Or is this hell no, man? That should have never done that. It's definitely a deal breaker for me. Whatever your opinion is, leave it in the comments. Keep it civil. Thanks again. Thanks for watching. Huge shout out to all my subscribers. You guys are awesome. If you didn't see the last video, just in the first 24 hours on the Cloud Wheels, I had over 80 comments. My subscribers are the best out there. Thanks, everyone.